Welcome to the show, folks. This is Wrestling Changed My Life. Here we go.
Long story short, our whole wrestling team gets invited to backstage Motley Crue. It's like across the street. This is the night before we're wrestling for our third title.
We can endure anything and adapt and pivot and change. Wrestling gave us that ability.
I would say nothing in life has impacted me more than the things wrestling has taught me in terms of self-reflection, resilience.
Toughness. Some guys have it, some guys don't.
Adversity, 100%. How to pick myself up and be a man after I failed.
And everything that has shaped my life and where I'm at today would not be there without the values and basically the lessons I've learned through the sport of wrestling.
For me, wrestling saved my life because it allowed me to focus and channel my energy.
We're fortunate if you wrestle, because if you wrestle, natural talent helps, but it's 5% of the ingredient. It pales in comparison to heart and technique and effort.
It humbled me, taught me humility. Nothing can humble you more than wrestling. I think it's the learning to adapt, right? You learn how to adapt, you learn how to solve problems.
You know, if I look back at my time I spent wrestling, if they gave me one thing more than anything else, it's mental toughness.
Ladies and gents, welcome back to Wrestling Changed My Life. This is your host, Ryan Warner. My guest today is Brian Glynn. He was a two-time All-American for the Fighting Illini. Now he's an elite high school coach at one of the top public schools in the Chicagoland area. Fan of the Week goes to the Co-College Wrestling Program on qualifying 4 individuals for the D3 Nationals. Congrats to Brock Henderson, Riley Wright, Cole Erickson, and Taylor Mayman. Awesome job, gentlemen. Before we get to the episode, quick shout out to our happy hour that we're holding this Saturday in New Jersey at the Brick House Tavern and Tap from 3 to 5 p.m. That's this Saturday in New Jersey, about 10 minutes from the Rutgers Rack Arena at the Brick House Tavern and Tap. If you're going to be there, text WRESTLE to 555-888 and we'll get you signed up for the event. That's WRESTLE to 555-888. And that's it, folks. Let's give it up for Brian Glynn. Peace!
So started obviously at a pretty young age. Started in around kindergarten. I think like a lot of other kids, I guess I was a little unique in that I didn't have any family members that wrestled. Dad didn't wrestle, no brothers. Really didn't know anything about the sport, but of course watched WWF at the time, was a big fan. So that's the next progression, getting to wrestling. Got in, was terrible. Didn't win a match. First 3 years, I mean, I was bad.
Yeah.
And I remember talking later with my mom, and she's like, yeah, you said you wanted to quit. And I wanted to quit. I think I wanted to join like floor hockey or something. She's like, you know what, just give it one more year. And then, I picked up a couple wins. And then from there, just slowly started that progression. So I think my whole career was more of like, I was a grinder, I wasn't,
yeah.
And I think it started at a young age, but yeah, I was not good. I was not good at all.
IKWF state champ or state placer? Or?
I was.
Okay.
When I got to, I think around my 6th grade year, it just clicked, I do a lot with the youth kids now. I got 3 boys of my own. So, and I try to tell some of these parents, it's just, it's going to, if you stick with it, it clicks at some point.
Mm-hmm.
You never know when. Some people it clicks right away. Some people it clicks a little bit later, and you got different points in your career where it clicks and you get to that next level. So for me, I just grinded out around my 6th grade year. It just kind of clicked and I got good. Mm-hmm. I ended up winning novice state bracket my 7th grade year and then won 8th grade senior year. So
Gotcha.
2-time state champion IKWF.
Which in Illinois, that's huge. People on here are probably sick to death of me talking about IKWF, but I love the organization of it. So I didn't realize you had 3 boys. All 3 of them wrestle?
They do.
So
right
what
now
do you?
They do.
And I've been meaning to ask someone who's an elite coach, but also has kids who wrestle, because I've had a couple parents ask me this. What would you say to them if every time they lose, they start crying and kind of freaking out? I mean, obviously you want them to win, but what do you say to them at that point if they're super young?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's just part of the process. I think that's why we wrestle. And I teach my high school kids, building character, overcoming adversity, all those things. And it starts at a young age. You got to constantly remind them, it's okay to lose, but this is how we're going to act, and I've seen the progression with my own kids, that they don't get me wrong, they still come off upset sometimes. But it's not throwing the tantrums. It's not, disrespecting other people. It's okay to be pissed off, but you got to channel those emotions in a certain way, and running off the mat crying isn't the most ideal way to do that. But you're not going to do that right away. It's a learning process, just like anything else.
Yeah, it really is, and it's such a fine balance, because you want them to want to win and not be okay with losing, because nothing makes me more upset than watching someone who loses and is like joking around. I hate that,
Correct.
So,
yeah. So it is a super fine balance, and it starts right away.
How many days a week do you got them going now, and how old are they?
My oldest is in 5th grade, so I got a 5th grader, 3rd grader, and a 1st grader.
Okay.
The 5th and 3rd grader go about practice 3 days a week. 1st grader goes 2 days a week. I've tried to limit the tournaments when they were younger. My 1st grader's kind of, he goes with his older brother, so he's definitely wrestled a lot more tournaments than my older ones ever had. But I would try to start with 2 tournaments a year, then 3. Then my 5th grader's kind of going full blown at this point.
Every weekend, yeah.
Yeah, not every weekend. We take, probably every 3rd, go 2, take 1 off. It's just that balance. I don't know what it is. I've seen kids get burnt out. I've seen a lot of kids get burnt out. So I'm trying to do the best of my ability, what I think is the right situation, and I don't have all the answers. People ask me all the time. I think it depends on the kid too.
You have to, that's interesting. Even 1 to 2 tournaments a weekend at that age, a year at that age, it seems pretty light, but it makes sense. No one even remembers anything that happens before high school, let alone at that age,
Yeah, and it's hard. The youth. We have a great youth program. The guys that I kind of put in place there, and I get that. They want the kids to wrestle every weekend, and I totally get that. They're putting in tons of time.
Oh my god.
Yeah. But I'm looking at it as like the high school. I'm like, hey, I want that kid to be a stud in high school. I don't care how he is right now. But you got to find that fine balance. I think our club, and we do a pretty good job at it.
What's the club called?
It's the Linkaway Wrestling Club. So
you started the whole vertical stack that you run. You're the head coach of the high school, and you started the kids club as well.
No, the kids club was in place a long time ago. But I just try to get good guys in the area. I don't do a lot of coaching for it. I just don't have the time with the high school. Kind of hands off on that end. But our area is so good with former wrestlers, and we have 2 guys that are just really good that run the club. And I tried helping just get them in place when the other guys were kind of shifting balances, shifting power.
This, but high school coach is so coaching a high school team is so time consuming. To do the kids club too is absolutely lunacy. And so getting some young guys in there and who can go on the Sundays and spend all day there, that's everything. Because your high school's only been around, or the wrestling team's only been around, what, like 10, 12 years?
Yeah, this is the 10th year of the school. The school was built 10 years ago, so this is the 10th year of the school.
Man, and you've been the head coach all 10 years?
Yeah, all 10 years. I was assistant for 1 year under Mark Rudiger, who's my assistant now, at Lincoln Way Central, and then he came over and became my assistant over here at Lincoln Way West.
Gotcha. And you guys have had a lot of success, and we'll talk about that, but man, you've had a chance to learn from 2 of my favorites, Mark Johnson and Keith Healy. Man, I can't even imagine what the stories you have with those guys over the years, but let's just start with high school. So you got to Providence, and for the folks who don't know now, Providence won like 5-6 titles in a row in Illinois. What was the streak back in the day?
It was 6.
6.
6 titles in a row.
Unbelievable. And let's not to mention some vicious battles with Mount Carmel, the great caravan teams of the 90s. Were you part of any of those, or were you guys pretty much rolling by the time you got there?
So when I came in, I was a freshman. Providence just finished 3rd in state. So when I got there, started the run. So, I didn't know any better, to be honest. And I think I've been around so many good programs my whole career. I think that's just helped me a lot. The Orland Park Pioneers and youth were a great program. Then I went to Providence, and then obviously Illinois with all good people and great programs. But so when I got there, I just thought this was the way it is, and we won that first state title. I was a freshman, and then from there it was just expected, and we had some good kids. We had some hammers on our team. We had some battles growing up, but yeah, that first one just got the ball rolling, and it was hard to stop after we got it going.
I didn't realize that Pasolano from Iowa State, he was on those teams.
Yeah, he's my age. So we grew up wrestling against each other, and then for 4 years, obviously we're training partners for 4 years, which helps.
What was Keith Healy like back in the day? Obviously, super intense. I'm sure. Was he more of a kind of a hard charger or a people's person, or what was he like for the folks who don't know?
He was more of he was the guy that kept everything in line. We had Coach Healy and Scott Richardson, two of the top coaches I've ever had. And Richardson was more of the get on you, tear you up, and Healy was more of the people person, organization, keeping everything in check, which is hard to do for 6 years with some of the personalities we had on that team too. So it was good. They were a good balance for sure.
Yeah, and it's like back when there was only 2 divisions, even harder to win, and you guys did it 6 years in a row. I mean, now that you're a head coach, outside of the recruiting aspect that the private schools can do, let's be real. Outside of that, though, like, what do you think enables someone to have that kind of a run? I mean, is it a good amount of recruiting in the IKWF club, or I mean, there's got to be parts to it outside of that though as well,
Yeah, and I always tell people, like, I wasn't recruited to Providence. That Providence really didn't recruit at the time. It was kind of a booming area, and there were some really good feeder programs. I mean, now it's definitely changed the recruiting process. But
you're about to start some message board wars saying Providence didn't recruit in the 90s, man. Here we go.
No, I mean, they didn't recruit me at least.
Right.
But there was really good feeder programs at the time, and it kind of all came together. You had really good Tinley Park Bulldogs, Orland Park Pioneers, little kids from Little Celtics, and they just all came together, and it just clicked, And again, once it's like my teenies run, once you get something started, it's a lot. It just snowballs, So I didn't know we were that good at I didn't know we were that good at the time until I've been coaching now, now that I follow more teams and now there's rankings and all this. But at the time, I didn't realize what we were doing was pretty special.
And was there a big off-season program when you were at Providence as well?
No, there was nothing.
Really? So there was no organized practices outside of that?
No, there was.
Wow.
No, there was nothing. I was lifting on my own in a Gold's gym. There weren't really any practices or anything like that.
How much has it changed? I mean, just the commitment level is unbelievable now.
Yeah, it's definitely different. I mean, if you're not running an off-season program, then you're probably not being successful right now.
When you talk about program building, I don't think people realize how bad Illinois was before Mark Johnson got there. And then you were there for the golden era. I was looking at some results. You guys thumped Iowa when you were a senior. Like pretty bad. Like 25-6.
Yes, we I want to say we only lost to Iowa one time. That was at Iowa, which was a crazy experience for me as a sophomore. But yeah, and again, same thing. I look at today, like Iowa and Penn State, and like we kind of were Iowa and Penn State back then. Everyone else was a little down. But yeah, we had some really, really good teams. We were ranked as high as one in the nation at the time. We won the Big Tens in 2005. Mm-hmm. Took second in the national dual tournament. So yeah, we were pretty loaded from top to bottom back then.
Man, I was looking at some of the lineups in that 2005 year when you guys got 6th at nationals. It's so close to getting up. I know.
Yeah,
so
don't bring
close
it up.
to getting on that podium, man. That is. But there were some studs on that team. Like Terrapelli didn't even place. I mean, Reynolds. I mean, there's so many good guys. The Ohio guys at the lower weights. Cassio Perot. I mean, where did he come from that year?
Yeah, I blame Terrapelli for not getting the trophy, but hopefully he's not listening. That was one of our probably my biggest. I would say regret, but my biggest thing that I wish we could have done, especially for Johnson, is just to get that trophy, at nationals. And we were so close for so many years, and we just couldn't get it. And we wanted to get it so bad for him and the program, and just fell a little bit short.
Yeah.
But
what do you think? What do you think gets someone to kind of want to help a coach like that? You guys said you wanted to get it for Johnson. People have talked about Gable the same way. They wanted to win for Gable. What did Mark do to kind of command the respect and loyalty of the guys?
Those guys, Heffernan, who's obviously still there now, and Johnson, and even the other guys, they were just guys that you would be. He was the guy, like, if he says you're disappointed in you start breaking down and crying. They're just such good human beings, not just good wrestling coaches, but they're just such good human beings that you would do anything for them. Something that I try to install in my own coaching style now, but just the way they treat people, Johnson and Hef, was just so good. And you wanted to see them have the success because how hard they would do it for you.
Yeah. Was Mark Johnson still going by the nickname the Mayor when you were there?
He had a lot of nicknames. The Mayor, the Bopper, you name it, tough guy, whatever it is. He would go by that.
He's just a larger than life kind of guy.
He is. If we played football, though, I tell him I would have freaking ran him over. He still to this day says it wouldn't happen, but I could get him now, I think.
So how did you end up there? Were you I was looking at some of the old IHSA brackets. Didn't have a ton of luck finding some of those old brackets, but were you highly recruited coming out of high school, and how'd you end up at Illinois?
No. I definitely was not. I was qualified my sophomore year, placed 5th my junior year, and I was always like a lighter weight. And then my senior year, I couldn't start. Our junior team was nationally ranked. We were ranked number 1 in the nation at some point. And I literally couldn't find a spot in the lineup unless I cut like 25 pounds. So I ended up wrestling 145 my junior year. I did all right. Wow. Placed 5th, but it just that weight cut was just, I wasn't reaching my full potential. So really hit the weight room hard. I actually got up to like 200 that summer. So I went from 145, got up to about 200, just lifted, did everything right. And then, I was a little chunky, and then dropped down obviously to 171 and just had a really good senior year. I was undefeated all the way up until my last match, lost in the state finals. But as far as recruiting, no, I didn't really get recruited until after state. I went to Virginia Beach. They used to have that. It was basically the only national tournament then at the time in Virginia, and had a really good tournament. Ended up taking 4th, becoming an All-American. And then from there, I just started getting a couple calls, and just everything worked out perfectly.
Man, I didn't, and when I said I couldn't find the results earlier, I was looking at some of the heavier weights in like those 99, 98 brackets, like 160, 171. I never would have thought to look at 145, so that's why I couldn't find anything.
Yeah.
That's a huge cut.
Yeah, so I was 145 my sophomore junior year, and then bumped up to 171.
Man, some of the things you're saying, it's just making me realize now kids are verbally committing as juniors and sophomores. You're in the spring of your senior year, and that's when the recruiting process was kicking off. Then it just changed so much.
Yeah,
in that,
and again, but I wasn't a big time recruit. A couple of my other guys, Pasolano and Paul Ogle, I think they had made commitments to Iowa State and Northwestern at the time. Mm-hmm. So I was just a little bit behind them. But yeah, it's nothing like how it is now. Crazy. Not even close.
So what was your first moment when you got to Illinois and you realized that this shit is no joke here? It is a whole nother level. Do you have one of those kind of come to Jesus moments?
Yeah, I got a couple. One, I went down into I went a little bit early into my summer, and I'm geared up. I'm ready to go, and I was wrestling like third string, like 97 pounder, and he just throttled me, absolutely throttled me. Like, I don't even think I touched his legs. So that was just like a camp. I'm like, oh man, I'm in trouble. And then going back, obviously when the season started, we had some really good seniors on the team. Ben King, Pat Quirk, Adam Terrapelli was on the team, and they were all 50-year seniors. And I mean, they would literally just destroy me. Like Pat Quirk, he was a national runner-up that year. He made a bet with me in the beginning of the year. He goes, at the end of the year, if you don't take me down, you got to take me out for a whole night of dinner and drinks. And I'm thinking, a whole year, I'm not going to take this guy down. Like, that's insane. Like, yeah, I'm going to take you down at least one time. Well, sure as heck, I didn't. I did not take him down for an entire year. But with that, he had all these rules like, well, it didn't count if it was a day before a tournament. It didn't count if it was two guys on one. So he stacked the deck against me. But needless to say, I did not take him down at all my freshman year.
It's crazy, and we hear these stories time and time again, but it's unbelievable to hear that. Before, like, the RT season, the era of elite high schoolers, it was pretty rare for someone to come in right away and be ready to go.
Yeah, and so I redshirted my freshman year, and then just didn't think I was going to turn out. There's no way I thought I was going to turn out to be a two-time All-American, and then at some point, something clicked, something switched. That was a huge goal of mine.
Yeah. But Coach, before we keep going, I know you're a teacher. What time do you have to hop off here?
I'm good. I could talk till about 9.
Okay, beautiful. So you said you didn't really expect your career to turn out that way. And it's kind of counter to some of the things you read now in these self-help books where it's like, if you don't know where you're going, you're never going to get there. But I don't necessarily agree with that, and you just kind of made that point. So if you didn't really have an end goal in mind, what were you thinking about during those tough years, your first 2 years there? Did you know where you wanted to go? Or
Yeah, I mean, I would make, my goals were, when I got there, was, hey, maybe I could start, maybe I could become a starter my sophomore, junior, senior year, and then all of a sudden I start in my freshman year, so then my goals changed. I was definitely making goals. Maybe I wasn't setting them as high as I should, at the time. And then I would reach that goal and I just set it a little bit higher and a little bit higher, a little bit higher, and then, my ultimate goal was to be in the national finals. Yeah. Fell a little bit short, but still becoming a two-time All-American, was on my list as well.
Well, and the fact that when your senior year, you beat, was it Bradley from Penn State?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he beat you at the Big Tens, and you beat him twice at Nationals 2 weeks later. I mean, what a way to finish things out.
Yeah, I did. I finished a real strong. I think that was the only time Bradley beat me too, by the way, which screwed my seat at Nationals, but at Big Tens. But yeah, I finished definitely on a high note at my senior year Nationals.
And so, who were some of your workout partners back then for the Fighting Illini?
Well, like I said, those first year guys helped tremendously. There was Ben King and Pat Quirk, and then a little bit later, we had Matt Lackey was around there. Jason Potter was around my weight. Tyrone Bird was around my weight. Anthony Castillo was around my weight. Even had to wrestle John Lockhart, national champ heavyweight, every once in a while. So it was
Lackey,
a good.
Lackey's from my hometown area. He's a hometown hero.
Yeah. Oh, of course he is.
Dude.
He's a good dude.
Unbelievably just like wrestling freak in that sense, man. Unbelievable.
Yeah.
Mat awareness.
Yes. Yeah. When he turned it on, you were in trouble. You were in trouble when he wanted to turn it on.
I bet. What is the story with you at Carver as a sophomore? You said it was your first time there.
Yeah. So that was, actually could go back. My first time at Carver, before rankings, I went to, so when I was redshirting, I went to, and this is kind of the start of, hey, I want to start for Illinois and I want to be there, I go to Carver my first nationals I ever went to. So I was redshirting. It was the year Minnesota had 10 All-Americans.
2001.
And 2001. So I remember going there, and I've never seen anything like it. Haven't missed a nationals since that day. Take that back. My daughter was born 2 days before New York. That was the only one I ever missed. So I go there and I'm just in awe of this national tournament. It's at Iowa, so you have Iowa fans screaming. You have Minnesota chanting 10. It was, from that point, I was like, I want to be there. I want to be out on those mats competing. And I never followed college wrestling beforehand, so it was obviously a little bit different. But that was just the one moment that I was like, I have to be down there. This is one of the coolest experiences I've ever seen in my life.
Man,
so that was my first Iowa experience. So the other one was when we wrestled there, and we were pretty good. I thought we could potentially hang with Iowa, but this was at Iowa. So I'm wrestling a guy, Tyler Nix. I wrestled him a couple times. He was the first time I wrestled him. He had the bendy knee. I could never take him down. And one of my kind of go-to things was I was a grinder. I just kept coming at you. Wasn't the best technique, but I just wouldn't stop. And I'm wrestling him, and it's a close match, and the Iowa fans are yelling stalling. And I'm like, and I'm thinking in my head, I'm like, stalling? No one in my entire life has ever said I was stalling, right? So I keep wrestling, and they're yelling stalling again. And I'm like, and so now I'm doubting myself. I'm like, am I stalling? Like, I think I'm stalling. And it just made my whole, it was terrible. I got my ass kicked. And I ended up stalling. I ended up stalling just because they were yelling stalling. And I remember that was like, yeah, when you wrestle at Iowa, it's different. It's different for sure.
Man, it's so crazy to hear that it actually does get in your head, because like,
it did, yeah.
I grew up an Iowa fan, and then in college I was kind of, in my early 20s, I was kind of annoyed with the fans a little bit, and now I'm back to being an Iowa fan. And I went to the Penn State duel, and some of the times they yell stalling, I'm like, that ain't stalling. That isn't even close to stalling. But it impacts the ref.
Right. Yeah, and yeah, there's no doubt about it. It affected me,
Yeah.
Maybe it shouldn't have, but it definitely did.
Well, especially for Mark to go back there, being Gable's right-hand man for all those years. He has a lot of history at Carver.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Would he give you guys like pregame not pregame, but like pre-match talks about what it's going to be like in there and what to expect just from all his years there?
I don't remember, to be honest. Yeah, I don't know. I can't remember that, to be honest.
He didn't play it up.
No.
So you said when you went to Carver, that was kind of like your ignition moment where you said, this for the Nationals, not for the duel.
Yeah.
So would you kind of, over the next couple of years, would you come back to that moment and like visualize and think back to that during any hard times, or did visualization play a role in your game at all back then?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I was a big, visualize what you want, see your match, try to teach it today. But that was just like my starting moment. And then I just feel like going back, I just had different moments over the course of my career that propelled me to get to that next step,
Mm-hmm.
Freshman year, I remember going back to Ben King. He was a fifth-year senior who used to punish me at practice. And I remember he would always lose to this kid from Missouri who was an All-American the year before. In my freshman year, I lost him in the Missouri Open by like a point. And just that match was like, hey, I could do this, And then from there, I just got a little bit better, had a little bit more confidence, and then, just started rolling after that.
Man, it's crazy how progression happens. I mean, it really does if you're around the right type of people in college.
Exactly. And I think, I've been so fortunate to be around such good coaches and right programs and good programs that it's huge. And the right people, too. Right. Obviously hanging out with the right people that have the same goals as you is extremely important. Extremely important.
Yeah, it's everything. Especially when you're going through that kind of grind together. So 2005, we talked about it earlier. Even though it's maybe a sore subject, it's really one of Illinois' best seasons ever. So did Mark never hit the podium as a coach during this time there? That's crazy to me.
No, we never did.
That's freaking nuts.
Yeah, we were always a little bit short. Even that 2001 team finished fifth. We finished sixth. The following year, they were up there, and we're just a little bit short. But it's tough to do.
It's unbelievable. I mean, to take a program that was so down and out, and then to kind of make them into a power. I mean, for sure, make them into a power, and still never hit the top four.
Yeah.
just shows you what it takes. I mean, how impressive these programs are that do it year in and year out. It's unbelievable,
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, what some of the teams are doing and the old teams have done, it's impressive. There's no doubt about it.
What do you think about the state of the Fighting Illini these days? Are you still following closely?
Yeah. Still good friends with Mike Poeta. Still talk to Jimbo and Hunter and those guys. I think they're doing really good things. Super, and like to see where they're going to be in the next couple of years. I think they're close. They're really close. Some of those young guys they have wrestling now are competing really good. I think Jim and Poeta and Hunter are on the right track of getting the right guys in, and they're definitely moving forward for sure. And again, and I think again they got kind of the Johnson in them as far as the style and just how you build a program. There's no doubt they were down for a couple years, and but I think this year, next year, they're moving on the right track for sure. So I'm super excited to see where they're going.
They're having a sneaky good season. And I say sneaky because
right.
you don't hear a lot about them because Illinois Athletic Department doesn't do a lot. It seems like to promote them, but at least I feel that way. But, man, they've beat some good teams.
They need or get a new facility, which should be coming here pretty soon. So
really?
Yeah.
That's
so hopefully,
exciting.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like you go in, Huff Hall's cool, and like the wrestling room isn't bad, but it's like in this day and age, it's an arms race,
Yeah, and that's kind of one of the things they're fighting over there is that, a wrestling mat's a wrestling mat, and I love Huff Hall and the history that it has, but when you go and look at Ohio State and Penn State and Iowa's going to get theirs, it's hard to compete with that, especially I think kids these days they look at that stuff. That's important.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, Illinois needs to get up on page, and I know those coaches are trying everything they're doing. So hopefully they get there.
Yeah, I think they will. That Piotrowski's really tough, man. He's kind of under the radar as well, but I really like him at 33.
Yeah, fun to watch. Yeah.
And so do you still follow college wrestling now?
Yeah, I still follow it quite a bit.
What do you think of, I don't know if you saw this, but did you see the mat layout for the Nationals?
I did. I saw that yesterday.
Kind of crazy, right?
It looks cool. Our seats are in the horseshoe, which I'm not too happy about because I don't think there's any way we could see probably the other four mats on the other end.
Yeah.
I do like the idea of something different though, trying to give wrestling just a little bit of a boost. So, if it fails, for 1 year, then at least they tried something, you know.
I thought for sure they were going to put a divider at the 50-yard line and make it real tight. When I went to the trials in 2004 with my mom, it was at the RCA Dome. They did that, and it was awesome. And it made it – and that's how they do it for Final Four as well, basketball, right? So I'm kind of bummed that they're doing it like that. It looks so big. But then I thought in 97 at the UNI Dome, that's a football field. But then someone told me online, it's like, dude, that's 14,000. This is 50,000. So I'm shocked that they're going to put the whole arena out there. I don't know if I like it personally.
Yeah, I don't know. We'll have to wait and see if it gets packed with 50,000. I think it'll be definitely worth it. Yeah. I don't know what it'll sell out, but
do you think we'll ever see
something different change? I hope not, because going to Nationals is like my favorite trip of the year. And I want to go away. I don't want to just go to the United Center. I want to go, even if it's in St. Louis or wherever. I don't want it here. I want to go away.
That's fair. What I know the Olympic trials are coming up. I'd love to get some predictions out of you there. Just some thoughts on some of the guys in the field, man. What do you think at 25 with the lower weights? What are you seeing?
Oh man, I don't know. Those guys are so close. I don't follow the international as much, I don't know. I don't want to piss anyone off,
It's just so many good guys this year with League,
it's
Rose,
insane.
Fix.
Right.
I mean, it's nuts.
Yeah, I mean every weight is just crazy. I mean up and down the lineup, and obviously now the whole Cox Snyder thing, but it's just crazy. Those guys. It's crazy that those guys put all those times in. Our team is so good, but we have there's just so few weights, Yeah,
it's nuts. I mean, every 4 years, 6, 7 guys. Everyone who's wrestling in the United States gets to go. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Well, one of the topics that's been super relevant to me this year, and I think to a lot of people online, is how high schools manage the dual state tournament.
Mm-hmm.
And you've been in the thick of it for 10 years.
Yeah.
I mean, you guys were in the sectional finals for a long time and then busted through and placed at dual state. How does Illinois do it now for the qualification and the tournament?
So you got to win your regional in an individual tournament, and then it's just random draw, which is kind of been the issue, is that a lot of the top teams aren't even getting a trophy because it's just a random draw. None of it's seeded. So, for years when we were in 2A, we were kind of on the bad end of it. So it's almost like a crapshoot. Like you can get the good end of the bracket or the bad end, and maybe get a trophy. When it's all said and done, though, the team that's the best is winning it, which is really all they care about. Of that second, third, fourth, you know what I mean?
So you're saying that the four regional champs aren't seeded when they wrestle?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. So the 4 regional champs are not seeded, and then if you win your sectional, then the top 8 at state are not seeded as well.
Gotcha. So who were you guys bumping up against in 2A for a couple years there? I read that you guys,
we kept losing
the champ every year, something like that.
Yeah, Washington and Montini, and then one year was your team, Geneseo.
Oh, really? Okay. Yeah, they had some good teams, but not when I was there. We had some good individual teams, but it was only 2 divisions, and we didn't have a chance.
Yeah, no, they had a really good team 6-7 years ago, maybe, give or take.
Yeah.
But yeah, we were always losing to Washington and Montini before Montini was up in 3A.
And then the team dual state is the week after individuals. I do like that because in Iowa they do it Wednesday, and the individual tournament starts on Thursday. I don't know. That's crazy.
That's great. That's even worse than how Illinois is. It's tough. I mean, you're coming off the state tournament, and then you wrestle that duel on Tuesday. You got kids trying to make weight. Some kids just had their dreams crushed. Some kids just won a state trophy. So everyone's head's not in the right place. And I've heard a lot of different suggestions of what to do, when to do it. I think having like a 16-team middle of the year thing, I think would be pretty cool, where they seed it. If you want in, because there's some teams that win the regional that you're getting crushed instantly, and they probably wouldn't even put in for it. So I like it. I know there's been coaches talking about kind of a mid-season state tournament. I like that idea. I think that would be good. Right before state and right after state. It's just tough,
That Tuesday duel after state is like one of the weirdest energy duels you'll ever go to. Because the guys who didn't make it, they don't even go into Champagne's a party. They're slamming Dippin' Dots all weekend. They're blowing up in weight. It's like, man, so you're talking about middle of the year. What time do you think it'd be, January or December? This dual tournament you're talking about, if it was your way.
Yeah, I think in January, sometime in January. I know Coach has been talking about it. I don't know how much steam it has, but me personally, I think that'd be a good time to do it.
And would you still do it?
Kind of like the Abe's Rumble, like the Class 1 and 2A teams have. I don't know if you know that. They have it's like a 64 team tournament, dual tournament, and it's basically like every Class A and 2A team is there. And they kind of do it around January. So kind of the same thing for 3A.
This is in Illinois? They do that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I've been a little bit removed from the Illinois circuits for better part of 10 years or so I wasn't aware of that. So they would still do that, and then 3A would do their own thing, and you would just kind of enter in 16 teams and hammer it out.
Yeah.
That's interesting that some schools probably don't even want to win the regionals, because the regionals are pretty lopsided. Like if you're in the Chicago public school one, that's like, if you win that, that's tough. You're in trouble.
Right. Yeah. Right. For sure.
Okay.
And then to go up against someone get crushed.
And what about in college? You were, like you said, when you were in 2005, Illinois got second in the national duels. That's pretty awesome. That the team individually got 6, but hey, at the duels, number 2 team in the country. That should have been something that was celebrated, but because the NCAA wasn't behind the national duels, probably don't hear as much about it as you could have. Do you think college is better off without the duels, or do you like it?
I liked it back then because we were doing good, you know. I know they tried to do the dual. I personally, I like how they do it now. You know, the individual tournament. Just something I'm used to, though. You know. But yeah, I like how they do it now, setting up the tournaments. The duels, it was fun though. You know, everyone likes duels. It, you know, brings the team together and stuff like that. But I like how they do it now. I wouldn't change it.
So you're a purist, all right? So you're on that side.
Yeah,
dude. Anytime there's
like
a big
change.
duel, man, I freaking there's just a rumbling of people saying, man, duel should be the way to do it. But I mean, how can you argue the national tournament's like the fourth most attended college event?
I know it's one of the greatest things I watch every year, and I wouldn't want to take anything away from that.
I'm ashamed to admit this will be my first year ever going to nationals.
You never went to nationals?
No.
Oh my gosh,
dude, I'm so excited.
Yeah, you should be. You should be ashamed.
Oh, I am ashamed. Dude, big time. I feel like this will be I'll never miss again after this. I'm really excited to get there. We'll have to. Definitely have to meet up when we get there.
Yeah, like I said, my first one was in that 2001, and I go with the same buddies every year. So I either was competing in it, and then after I hadn't missed one, and my daughter was born, and my wife gave me a date she's like, okay, if she's born on this day, you could go. And she was literally born like the next day. So I missed New York. I was pretty upset about it. But
was that Dake Taylor that year too?
No, I did not miss Dake Taylor. No.
Okay. What two more questions for you, then we'll let you go here. What's one of the more memorable matches you've seen at the Nationals that comes to mind right away?
I think right away you're saying about the Metcalf one, the Caldwell Metcalf. You know, you can't forget that one. You know, just the whole cartwheel and things like that, and just getting the energy going. That was pretty crazy for sure.
That was awesome.
Yeah. And then, on a bad note, Poeta, Poeta losing in the finals twice was a killer. I'm pretty close with him. So to watch him lose twice and, losing to Burroughs, who at the time, Burroughs wasn't Burroughs, but, it was heartbreaking to watch him lose those two.
Who was the second one? Lean from Cornell?
Yeah, Lean. Yep. Jordan Lean.
Dude, Poeta, he was when I was a freshman, the only year I went to Fargo, he was like the team captain, and he was like a senior, and I was so gun shy and so nervous. He was like larger than life. I mean, that guy in high school was lights out. Like,
he was really good. So he was a redshirt freshman when I was a senior. So I got a good story about him. So, and this wasn't set up. So this was after my junior year. I had just All-Americaned. And it was like the next week or sometime shortly after there. And me and a couple of my roommates, Mark Jane from St. Ed's, and we go to church, right? So I grew up Catholic. So we were like, let's go to church. Now, we probably only went to church like 5 times in 5 years, right? So we go to church. We're walking out of church, and Johnson is on his recruiting trip with Poeta and Poeta's parents. And we're literally walking right out of the church, and Johnson's walking up right with Poeta and his parents, and it was just like a perfect setup. Like, look, this is our team captains, Brian Glynn and Mark Jane, and they're good kids. They're walking right out of church. It was almost like a setup, but it wasn't, And Johnson's like, oh man, that was great. That was so good. You guys walked right out at the perfect time. So,
God, that's hilarious. Was Poeta looking at other schools? Seriously?
I don't know, to be honest. I'm not sure. I think he was pretty set going to Illinois. His high school coach was Griff Powell was an All-American Illinois, so I think he was pretty set. But
yeah.
I like to say that my church story, really sealed the deal with his parents.
Made the difference, man. I had to think, and man, you're talking about back then. All the good Illinois wrestlers went to Illinois, and I think they still do now. But there was a year, maybe a couple of years ago, where some of the guys went out of state. I mean, look at Iowa's last 3 weights; they're all Illinois guys. It's like that's tough to see. Really tough to see.
It is. I think that's something I know the coaching staff wants to change for sure. You got to keep those Illinois guys. I mean, and then supplement them in with some, Ohio guys and California guys. So we got some good guys coming in though for sure at Illinois.
The California pipeline to Illinois, I'll never understand how it started or what the connection is, but it is real.
Yeah, I think it started with the Tirapellis, I believe, but I don't know how they got started.
I don't either. Well, actually,
but yeah, there was
one of the things
there's a bunch, you know, and
Delgado,
there's a bunch
Aymar,
of California guys.
Like of all the Illinois national
Gabe
champs,
Flores,
the amount that are Californians, there's got to be more than the ones that aren't. You know, like by far.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't want to say that, but
two Aymar, 2 Delgado.
Yeah.
Terrapelli.
You're getting crazy.
That's 5. I mean, that's quite a bit.
Probably not all time, but definitely in the last couple years for sure.
Absolutely.
You know, last 10, 15 years, 20 years.
I was actually thinking when I had Terrapelli on, I think I asked him that question, how the California things start, and he goes, I was at Fargo, and my dad knew Mark Johnson somehow, and he's like, I got this kid Williams, like TJ Williams, and Mark Johnson's like, you'll be lucky to stay in the match, like you'll be lucky to not get teched, right? And he like battles him, like he got beat by TJ, but he battled him close, and then Mark Johnson's like, shit, maybe I should take a look here, because like TJ was going the JUCO route, and I think that might have been how it started for him, but. Anyway, man, it's been a good run for those guys, and I'm excited to see what Illinois has coming up at the Nationals and then in the subsequent years. Last thing we always ask everybody is, you know, how did wrestling change your life, or what values have you taken away from wrestling that you carry with you to this day? What are some of the things that jump out to you, man?
You know, I would say I've been doing it my entire life, and it's my career right now. You know, but just the characteristics and the traits and how I live my life started at a young age, you know, either on the mat, you know, making memories with coaches and friends. And I mean, literally everything that I do and how I father and how I parent and how I coach is because of wrestling, you know. And now, you know, without wrestling, I don't know where I'd be, because it's my career, you know. So I just try, you know, all those memories and relationships I made over the years is something that I try to do with my high school kids now, you know. I want them to have the success and the accomplishment and just all those things that I experienced, you know. Yeah. So it's basically what I'm trying to do with my high school kids now. If I could do that, you know, that's what it's all about, you know. Yeah, it's about wins and losses, but you know, the family and again, it's something that I learned from Johnson and Heffernan and all the great coaches that I've had over the years.
Awesome, man. Well, it's been an honor to chat with you. I look forward to meeting at the Nationals, and go Illini, man. I'm excited to see what they can put together here near the end of the season, brother. Thank you again.
For sure. Yeah, no problem.
Motley Crue, let's do it, baby. Let's do it. Put the headphones back on here. I'll just get my day started. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Cool.
So one of my coaches, he would have literally killed me if I didn't tell this one, because it's like his favorite story of all time. And I thought I completely forgot when we started getting sidetracked. Anyway, perfect. So this is in high school. We had just won 2 team state titles, and we're going to win our 3rd. And you know how like every high school room's got, you know, you listen to AC/DC or, you know, whatever it is. And ours was Motley Crew. So we had Matt Kukla. You know Matt Kukla?
Oh yeah.
So Matt Kukla. Yes. So Matt Kukla is like an avid Motley Crue. Like he knows everyone in the band. He knows every song. He knows like the backup drummer. He knows like everything about Motley Crue. So all year we would listen to Motley Crue the whole year. So we're in the hotel. So we're at the hotel. It was in, I believe, the Quad Cities that year.
Yeah.
So we're in the hotel, and all of a sudden he comes up into the rooms. This is the day before we wrestle. We're supposed to wrestle. We're supposed to weigh in the next day on the Saturday to wrestle our 3rd title. And he's like, hey, you're not going to believe this. He's like, I'm on the elevator, and I recognize somebody in the band from Motley Crue. I forget who it was. It wasn't one of the main guys. It was like, because he knows everything about Motley Crue. So he recognizes someone. He gets talking to him, and the guys are like, oh, what are you doing here? He's like, oh, we're wrestlers. We're going for our 3rd team title. He goes, hey, we got a show across the street. You guys want to come? So long story short, our whole wrestling team gets invited to backstage Motley Crue. It's like across the street. This is the night before we're wrestling for our 3rd title. So we go backstage.
Did Healy allow this? Like, how was this presented to Coach Healy? How did you massage this thing?
So not even Healy wasn't there, but our principal, Father McGrath, he was with us. We had our father, the principal of the school, also came with us. So we're backstage with Tommy Lee. He's handing out his drumsticks. The whole gang is back there. So we get this like backstage tour with Motley Crue, and then they're like, "Hey, you guys could stay." So we're like, "Oh my God!" Now again, we got to get up at like, I don't know, 6 or something in the next morning. I forget what time this was, but it wasn't early. It was late. And so we're there. So we're in the crowd with watching a Motley Crue concert. And they had cages, for like, because Motley Crue had some crazy stuff going on. So I remember the guy that was like kind of letting us stay. He's like, "Hey, you guys are more than welcome to stay the whole night." He goes, "But I'm just going to let you know that there's going to be some people coming out of these cages. I don't know if it's appropriate." And again, we had Healy, we had all our coaches there, we had our priest there. So we stayed for probably like 20, 30 minutes. We stayed, got backstage, and then went and next day and won our third trophy. So on our rings, we got like the Motley Crue, we got like the Motley Crue symbol, on our rings that was our third one in a row.
God,
so
that's almost unbelievable. Like the coincidence here. That's crazy.
Yeah, right.
That's
and
so
that Matt
cool.
Kukla again would know just it was like a roadie. Like he even knew who like the roadies were in the band, recognized them, and then just got to talking. So
I know exactly where that must have been at because I'm from the Quad Cities. The Mark is right by Wharton Fieldhouse.
Yep.
And so you guys are probably right down there. I mean, so you were hanging out before the show started with the guys?
Yeah. We got to go backstage, probably 10, 15 minutes. Got to meet, the whole band, and then
cool.
Yeah. Oh yeah, they were really cool. I mean, how was Tommy Lee not cool?
That's true.
No
shenanigans going on at the time. They were on the up and up with the high scores around.
Well, I think that's why they told us we had to leave, because they're like, "Hey,
down afterwards."
Yeah. There's cages. I don't know who's going to be in these cages, but I don't think the high school kids should see them.
Man,
so
thank God we got that story out. That would have been a travesty not to get that one out. That's unbelievable.
I know. Yeah, that's a good one.
Dude, I might post that as a video like later today. That's awesome.
Yeah, it's cool.
Sweet, man. Well, thanks for sharing that. I appreciate it.
All right, no problem.
Take care, buddy.
All right, later.
And all great things must come to an end. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe, give us a review, give us a rating, and share this with your friends. It would mean the world to us. Thanks for listening to Wrestling Changed My Life. 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 Listening to Wrestling Changed My Life.